St. Louis police issue an indictment against the gun couple over there that stood up their ground on their own property. The new drug for coronavirus could cost as much as $3,000 for insured patients, so God knows what they're going to do for the uninsured people. Iran issues an arrest warrant for the president, and J.K. Rowling struggles to stay relevant. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Guess who didn't change the title card again? I gotta remember to do that. I didn't do it for last night's show, and I did it afterwards, and now I didn't do it again, and goodness. I don't know why you guys keep watching this show, but I do thank you for doing it anyway. But we've got a ton to get to today as we keep going down the road here. But before we get started, head on over to freedomscoop.com. Freedomscoop.com is going to be your one-stop shop for all of your news and commentary needs. We had a great interview on there with Stephen Ignoramus and Fritz from Fritzcast. Go and check that out. I got to catch that live while we were waiting for Stephen Ignoramus to come in and join me. We've got me, the Generational Gap. We've got the R-rated conservative, Wyatt Birkenhoff, and the Freckles and Brit Show. So come on over and check us all out over there and buy some of our swag. We love to sell out our swag. So, in financial news today, we will first look at the rolling average for the day, and we could see there 580 points, 2% of a jump yesterday, which was pretty good. And just from looking at the news coming up here that we've seen, it looks like the futures were even higher. So, I mean, it's flip-flopping a little bit back and forth, hugging between 25,000 and 26,000, but it's still not dropping back to 19,000 no matter how much the news tries to throw at it. So we'll see what's happening there. Let's have a look at what's going on in Investors Business Daily. Dow Jones Futures after timely coronavirus stock market rally, Lululemon, Micron, and Focus. This is from Ed Carson. Dow Jones Futures turned modestly higher early Tuesday along with S&P 500 futures and NASDAQ futures. The coronavirus stock market rally rebounded Monday led by Dow Jones Industrial Average giants, Boeing and Apple. Tesla stock jumped above 1,000 again as CEO Elon Musk hinted Tesla could break even in quarter two. Overnight, Micron stock, Lululemon stock, and Wells Fargo stock moved on news. Micron Technology reported better than average earnings. Lululemon Athletica bought at-home fitness company Mirror. That's probably going to boost them a little bit here if we go back into another lockdown. Wells Fargo will cut its dividend to preserve capital as other big banks kept their payouts steady following annual stress tests. Micron stock jumped overnight while several other memory chip-related plays and chip equipment maker stock, Applied Materials, rose as well. Add in bullish guidance from struggling Xilinx. Your guess is as good as mine, and chip stocks are looking bright early as Tuesday. Lululemon stock popped overnight while at-home exercise specialist Peloton fell. Wells Fargo stock retreated 1% on the somewhat expected dividend cut. Separately, Apple stock just edged lower early Tuesday amid reports that 5G iPhone shipments in 2020 may be just 15 million to 20 million, according to DigiTimes, citing sources. That's down from prior projections of 30 million to 40 million. Well, a lot of people don't have jobs. Apples are expensive, and they're a piece of crap anyway. I've got Galaxy products down here and one Motorola, and I recommend them. I recommend Galaxy products to anybody that wants to look into a higher-end cell phone. Absolutely. They're very nice, they're user-friendly, and their own Galaxy store is usually lower priced on paid apps than the Play Store is. So I would go that direction if it was me, but it's a matter of personal preference. That's just mine. All right. Apple stock and Tesla are on the IBD leaderboard. Lululemon stock is on Swing Trader. Dow Jones futures were just above fair value. S&P 500 futures advanced 0.1%. NASDAQ 100 futures climbed 0.2%. Remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. An official China manufacturing index edged up to 50.9% in June from May's 50.6%. Slightly topping views, readings above 50 signal expansion, but while output has increased, exports and employment signaled contraction. China's parliament officially passed Hong Kong's national security bill. Hours earlier, the U.S. began eliminating Hong Kong's special trade privileges because the former British colony no longer enjoys sufficient autonomy from Beijing. We'll talk about that in just a bit. Royal Dutch Shell will write down the value of its assets up to $22 billion after lowering its long-term oil and gas price forecasts. So, that's what we're looking at from Investors Business Daily. We'll see if NBC's got anything different to say here. Dow jumps more than 500 points to start the week as Boeing and Apple rise, from Fred Imbert and Thomas Frank. Stocks rose sharply to start the week Monday as Wall Street cheered news on Boeing, and traders shrugged off the latest surge in coronavirus cases. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed 580.25 points higher, or 2.3%, at, where did it go, 595.80. It was Dow's best day since the June 5th, when it soared more than 3%. The S&P 500 jumped 1.5% to 3053.24, while the Nasdaq Composite gained 1.2% to end the day at 9874.15. The major averages, hit their session highs just minutes ahead of the close. That late day surge put the S&P 500 in positive territory for the month, with one trading day left. Shares of the Dow member Boeing rose 14.4% as certification of flights for Boeing 737 MAX began on Monday. The test is seen by investors as a critical step in Boeing's worst ever corporate crisis, which began in March 2019 after two crashes in 5 months killed 346 people. Apple was also among the biggest contributors of gains in the Dow, climbing 2.3%. Facebook, meanwhile, closed 2.1% higher to recover from an earlier decline, which means that your data is floating around China again. The social media giant was the first under pressure after more companies said they will pause advertising on its platforms. Since Friday, Starbucks, Coca-Cola, Guinness parent Diageo, all announced they will halt advertising on social media. Bye-bye. Investors bet on stocks on hopes that most state economies will continue to reopen even as some hotspots pop up. Southwest Airlines jumped 9.6% after Goldman Sachs upgraded their shares from buy to sell. Or to buy rather from sell, I had that backwards. Shares of retailer Gap and Kohl's rose 3.7% and 10.1% respectively. And I've said this a few times as people are going out there for the first time in months. They're realizing that either they lost a bunch of weight because they worked out for hours on end, all day, every day during the lockdown, or they watch Netflix for hours on end, all day, every day. So they either lost a bunch of weight or they gained a bunch of weight. So yeah, you're going to see your clothing prices go up and down here. The major averages also got a boost after the National Association of Realtors said pending home sales jumped to a record 44.3% in May. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Wouldn't you want to get out of the city at this point? There's a reason I'm studying to get my realtor's license right now. Monday's sharp gains came even after data compiled by Johns Hopkins University showed more than 2.5 million COVID-19 cases have been confirmed in the U.S., along with more than 125,000 deaths. Globally, over 10 million cases have been reported. Yeah, 125,000 total, but they're not telling you what's current right now because it appears to be back into the single digits in most places. But they'll tell you all about all the cases. Oh, they'll tell you about the cases. All right, that's what we're going to do on stocks here. Let's go look at what's going on in the rest of the news, starting with the Gateway Pundit. St. Louis Circuit Attorney threatens to take action against couple who protected home against protest mob on a private street. This is from Jim Hoft. Is this all in bold, or is that a headline? I don't know. We'll read the bold. On Sunday night, several hundred Black Lives Matter protesters gathered in the Central West End neighborhood in St. Louis City. Then in the evening, hundreds of protesters crossed Kings Highway and entered the Portland Place, a private gated community inside the city limits. They broke through this gate. Kaboom. A couple in the neighborhood were having dinner outside at the time. When they heard the commotion, the husband and wife were scared to death at the commotion and went out to their front yard with guns. The Second Amendment is alive and well in St. Louis. The protesters continued over to Lake Avenue to protest St. Louis Mayor Lyda Krewson. The Black Lives Matter mob wants her to resign. The couple outside in their yard after hearing the protest mob break down the gate. The protesters were chanting, "Our streets." The couple said, "We were in fear for our lives." On Monday morning, the far-left Soros-funded circuit attorney, yeah, this is objective, did not condemn the lawless protest mob. Instead, the circuit attorney Kim Gardner sent out a statement threatening the couple. The circuit attorney is starting an investigation. Let's see, the mob broke down a gate. They entered a private street in a gated community. They threatened the residents on the street. They wrote graffiti on the street. And the circuit attorney wants to investigate the homeowners. Well, we've got something slightly more objective. I mean, it's Fox, so we'll take what we can get. But, I mean, in all rights, yeah, they were well within their rights to defend themselves and their own property. But, of course, this is America in 2020, and everything is going to be backwards, so we're going to see stuff like this crop up at every turn. So let's see what Fox has to say on this here. Armed St. Louis protesters broke iron gate, threatened couple before they drew their own guns, attorney said. We were told that we would be killed, our home burned, and our dog killed, homeowner says. This is from Stephanie Pagones. A Missouri couple under fire for brandishing guns in the front yard of their home as protesters passed told police the group broke a gate to get into the private street, and the pair said they only retrieved their firearms when they spotted multiple people who were already armed, department records show. Al Watkins, an attorney for Mike McCloskey, 63, and his 61-year-old wife Patricia, said the protest was largely peaceful and the pair did not bring their guns outside the home until two men in particular, both of whom were white, started menacing them. The McCloskeys said they were hesitant to come forward with the full story out of fear that they would disparage the importance of Black Lives Matter. At the time, their fear was these people, two in particular, that were menacing along with the Black Lives Matter protest participants, all peaceful. They were acting in a fashion inconsistent with the message being given, Watkins said. My clients were not arming themselves against peaceful protesters. They were arming themselves about people with a really bad motive, a motive that runs afoul of the fundamental tenets of our country. After the couple brought the guns outside, Watkins said others began threatening them, unaware of the reason behind the couple's interpreted need to arm themselves. My clients, though, had to deal with comments that were from two individuals that were perpetrating these acts of violence and not charging, but coming towards them and doing so in a fashion that was threatening, menacing, and in a fashion inconsistent with the Black Lives Matter message. Really? That's inconsistent with the Black Lives Matter message? You got me, because after what I saw from some of these major cities out here, I'm pretty sure that's pretty consistent with the message they have going on here. But, of course, it's funny that the truth comes out here that this couple didn't want to go and detract from the Black Lives Matter message, which indicates that they at least have some sympathy for the left. I'm not going to come out and say that they're progressive leftists or anything, but at least they have some sympathy for the movement. And they were arming themselves up because they were being menaced by not black people in Black Lives Matter protests, by white people. So, yeah, there's a lot to unpack here, and I have this feeling that this is going to stop fitting the narrative at some point and drop out of the news. I hope that we get to see a conclusion to this, but, I mean, we haven't seen a conclusion to anything since 2014. So, there's that. But I want to see where this ends. I really do, because I want to see how a prosecutor can tie himself in knots to prosecute somebody for defending himself, not even hurting anybody, just brandishing enough to defend himself. All right, let's keep going here. From the Daily Wire, Virginia Democrats propose reducing charge for assaulting police officers. This is from Hank Berrien. Virginia Senate Democrats are proposing the reduction of the charge of assault on a police officer from felony to a simple misdemeanor offense. Yeah, that's going to end well. The proposal, one of 28 championed by the Virginia Senate Democratic Caucus to reform the state's law enforcement systems, would get rid of the current law that considers assault of a police officer a Class 6 felony and imposes a mandatory minimum term of confinement of 6 months. Virginia state Democrats issued a statement reading, "The deaths of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor have awoken Americans and Virginians to long-standing problems in policing in America. After the people are arrested, additional damage is done by a criminal justice system that has been streamlined to produce convictions and punishment instead of rehabilitation and justice." You want to get private security for only the rich and see nobody want to go into the police department? That's how you get there. Which, given Virginia, and given what I know about Virginia, is probably the case, especially with the Beltway at this point influencing most of their decisions. I would definitely believe that, but yeah, you're going to see a lot of gun sales skyrocket in Virginia, and a lot of people not wanting to join the force anymore. So just keep in mind what's going to happen if you do something like this. As the Fort Hunt Herald reported, the Virginia Senate Democratic Caucus's list of proposed reforms includes prohibit no-knock warrants. Good. Ban sex with individuals arrested by law enforcement. That wasn't already banned? Wow. I guess they're pretty loose with their morals in Virginia. Prohibit hiring of officers fired or resigned during use of force investigations. It's probably a good idea. Create a decertification procedure for law enforcement officers. Don't quite understand that, but there's an asterisk there, so there's probably something else here. Ban chokeholds and strangleholds. Probably a good idea right now. Require attempts to de-escalation prior to use of force. I'm pretty sure that's already required. Require warnings before shots fired. That's going to result in a lot of dead cops. Require law enforcement to exhaust all other means prior to shooting. I thought that was the norm as well. Create duty to intervene by fellow law enforcement officers. Okay, I thought all of this stuff was already law. Apparently not. Prohibit shooting at moving motor vehicles. That's just dumb, I'm sorry. Unless he's shooting at you. Require departments to use force, to create a use of force continuum. Also going to result in more cops being shot. Require comprehensive reporting of all law enforcement agencies, including use of force data. That's probably a good thing. Defelonize assault on a law enforcement officer. Return to misdemeanor offense. Cancel HB 599 funding, Virginia supplemental funding for local police departments after local police have disproportionate use of force incidents in their jurisdiction. So defund the police, essentially. Create local authority for a Marcus alert system to report acute mental health crises. Okay, who's going to pay for that? Create local option for citizen review board and power to investigate, fire, or discipline officers. That's going to result in a lot of cops getting fired for giving a speeding ticket. Confirm prosecutors' authority to drop charges. Enhance courts' ability to expunge charges for dismissed charges, substance convictions, and pardoned offenses. Prohibit searches of persons or vehicle based on odor of marijuana without probable cause for other offenses. Well, yeah, that's constitutional, so that should have been there to begin with. Prohibit stops for equipment violations not covered by state vehicle inspection. So no more fix-it tickets. Got it. Secondary offense for dangling objects, extinguished tag light, tinted window, or loud exhaust. I like that. Jury sentencing only at option of the accused. Eliminate Commonwealth's right to demand jury trial when jury trial is suspended for a state of emergency. No. You have a right to a jury trial. It's in the Constitution. Require agencies to determine cost savings for introduced criminal justice legislation. Defund the police, essentially. Allow earned sentence credit for good behavior during prison. That's probably a good thing. Create discretion for compassionate release for terminally ill or permanently disabled prisoners. I can see both sides of that one. Virginia Rental Assistance Fund for families economically impacted by COVID. There's the pork. They're going to put pork into it. See that? Require and reimburse localities for postage prepaid envelopes for absentee voting. Hey, look, there's more pork. You can't have a Democrat bill without pork. That's great. All right, so that's what Virginia's trying to do here. All right, let's keep going. Dems tweet then delete post linking Trump's Mount Rushmore event to glorifying white supremacy. Native Americans say President disrespects them time and time again. This is from Joseph A. Wolfzone. The Democrats, the official Twitter account of the Democratic National Committee, raised eyebrows on Monday night for accusing President Trump of glorifying white supremacy after he scheduled the 4th of July celebration at Mount Rushmore. Trump is set to attend a fireworks display at the iconic landmark on honors George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. But a tweet from the Democrats' official Twitter page took issue with the president for holding the event there. When has the Democrats' Twitter page not taken issue with the president? And shared a link to an article published by The Guardian last week about the criticism he's received from the Native American community. Trump has disrespected Native communities time and time again, the Democrats wrote. He's attempted to limit their voting rights and block critical pandemic relief. Now he's holding a rally glorifying white supremacy at Mount Rushmore, a region once sacred to tribal communities. Critics pounded the Democrats for the tweet, which has since been deleted. Would be curious to hear the Democrats explain what part of shooting off fireworks at Mount Rushmore for the 4th of July glorifies white supremacy. The fireworks? Mount Rushmore itself? The 4th of July? GOP pollster Logan Dobson asked. I think I know what they're implying here. The tweet was obviously designed to tell their base something, but it would be really instructive if they were actually made to answer the question. The Democrats think Mount Rushmore is a display of white supremacy. There's no saving this country if Biden gets elected, radio host Jason Rance tweeted. 4th of July festivities at Mount Rushmore equals a rally glorifying white supremacy. 2020 Democrats have lost it, National Republican Senatorial Committee Senior Advisor Matt Whitlock wrote. Pretty disappointing. When Democrats held the White House and Congress a few years back, they left up this monument glorifying white supremacy, writer Gerald Beer quipped. All the Republicans have to do is run on a hey, at least we're not the Democrats platform. I hate that idea, by the way. Author and the Rubin Report host Dave Rubin said, whoops, we couldn't access this tweet. So, this is, they're just running as far as they can at this point. And they think that that's going to win them. I don't know how you could vote for a Democrat right now. I really don't. And I have come out and said I am leaving the top of the ticket blank because I can't do Libertarian or Republican this year based on the candidate. And fuck the Green Party. There's no way in hell you'll ever catch me voting for them. But, they're just taking it further and further to see if they can. I don't know what the logic is. I don't understand anything that's going on in the heads of the DNC at this point, other than the fact that Trump came in and they cracked. And like I said yesterday, I don't necessarily think it's Trump that's their problem. I really think that it's the fact that he got in and was able to start seeing other people come in as freshmen and unseat people who are long-term incumbents. I really don't think this has anything to do with Donald Trump himself. I just think this is the fact that they're going to lose power, and they don't like it. They don't like any of it. But that's what I see off of this here, and I would love to just see him keep running on this destroy Mount Rushmore thing, because I want to see him try. I really do. Because that's going to end their party. Right there, that's going to end their party. All right, let's keep going here. Once again, from the Daily Wire, Walmart goes woke, pulls All Lives Matter gear offline to focus on racial inequality. This is from Ryan Saavedra. Walmart announced this week it would pull All Lives Matter gear off its website in an effort to promote the reality of racial inequality. Did they actually have All Lives Matter stuff out? That's brave. Walmart will stop the sale of All Lives Matter merchandise on its website, noting that it's putting emphasis on black people and other people of color whose lives are being impacted by ongoing racial injustice, USA Today reported. The nation's largest retailer is removing items which are sold by third-party sellers indefinitely, after hearing from some employees and customers who were concerned about the meaning behind the merchandise. Yeah, equality, the meaning behind the merchandise. Walmart's website featured numerous Black Lives Matter items, a reference to a group that's been described as a radical neo-Marxist political movement. Black Lives Matter leaders have openly stated that they are trained Marxists promoting the dismantling of capitalism, which they link to police brutality. Marxism is one of the deadliest ideologies in world history. White capitalism requires racist, violent policing to protect it, Dr. Melina Abdullah, Black Lives Matter LA lead organizer, wrote in an op-ed in December of 2018. In order to eliminate police violence and the killings of our people at their hands, we must also target the economic system that built it and rely on it, which is not going to be good news for Walmart, but of course they're going to go out and they're going to try and virtue signal so people will come in and keep buying their cheap Chinese crap. Most of you already know this, but I already stopped shopping at Walmart. And it wasn't for them being bad to me or anything else. And I'm not telling you to boycott. I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm not a leftist. You can associate with whoever you want to as freely as you want to. But when I looked at Walmart and the fact that they had to jump up on the soapbox and virtue signal that they were no longer going to sell assault rifle ammo, which meant 5.56 and 2.23 ammo, I said, you know what? You don't need my money. I don't need cheap Chinese crap that bad that I need to go and shop at your place. So I stopped shopping. And the funniest thing about that is I never bought ammo at Walmart, ever. Because there are local places I can do that. And they give me better quality stuff. Usually for a better price. I never bought ammo there. It's just the fact that they had to jump up on the soapbox that, you know what? I don't need this bullshit. I don't need a lesson in politics or morality from Walmart of all places. So I stopped shopping there. And now it looks like that was a good idea. Because they're going to just keep going on down that train. And I understand that Target's management is also not aligned with my political views, but they don't get on their soapbox to do it. They just quietly vote the way that they want to, and I quietly vote the way that I want to, and we come to an understanding on the prices of low-priced, in-home goods. So that's my take on Walmart there, and the fact that they're going down with this. Alright, let's keep going here. From CNN, Netflix announces Ava DuVernay-led series on Colin Kaepernick. From Allison Gordon. It's going to be really hard for me to keep giving money to Netflix. I'm probably going to keep doing it because I'm providing it for my parents and my sister as well, but this makes it harder. Colin Kaepernick's life story is headed to Netflix. The streaming giant announced a new limited series titled Colin in Black and White from Ava DuVernay, based on Kaepernick's high school years. Kaepernick will appear in the series and add his own voice to the project. The limited series will run for 6 episodes and reunites DuVernay with Michael Starbury, who will write and serve as executive producer. DuVernay and Starbury previously worked together on When They See Us, which received 16 Emmy nominations. In 2016, Kaepernick made national news when he refused to stand as the national anthem played before NFL games because he'd been pulled off the field and he wasn't a starting quarterback anymore and he had to do something to stay in the limelight. He said he did so to protest police shootings of African American men and other social injustices faced by black people in the United States. Doing so helped transform him into an icon in the fight against police brutality and racial injustice. The series will focus on Kaepernick's formative high school years, lending meaningful insight into the acts and experiences that led him to become the activist he is today, Netflix said in a statement. DuVernay, who also celebrated the news on Twitter, said in a statement that Kaepernick's acts of protest ignited a national conversation about race and injustice with far-reaching consequences for football, culture, and for him personally. Well, I know I won't be watching football this year, but that's to say that we even have football this year because they're going to keep trying to drive COVID down our throat until nobody will open up their stadiums for practice. She added, Colin's story has much to say about identity, sports, and the enduring spirit of protest and resilience. I couldn't be happier than to tell his story with the team at Netflix. So, yeah, like I said, I'm going to continue to have Netflix for now, but this just made it harder. Because they are going out and they're trying to push the woke narrative back onto you. But the nice thing about Netflix, and I will say this, is that they've got a lot of old stuff, they've got a lot of classics, and they do have a lot of stuff that isn't on the woke side. So you can just freely not associate with this stuff, even if they are trying to advertise it to you from the beginning. You do still have options if you go on there to not go into this mindless religious trap that they're trying to set for you. And that's the reason I could still justify giving them money. But the justification is drawing thin. Let's keep going. From ABC News. Coronavirus drug remdesivir to cost $3,120 per patient with private insurance, irking critics. Remdesivir has shown effectiveness against the virus, by Catherine Thorbecki. The California-based drug maker Gilead Sciences announced its pricing plans for remdesivir, an antiviral COVID-19 drug candidate, saying the treatment will cost $520 per dose for U.S. private insurance companies and $390 per dose for the U.S. government. For the majority of people who receive a 5-day treatment of the drug using 6 vials based on current patterns, the total charge to hospitals for patients with private insurance in the U.S. will be $3,120. For those under U.S. government health programs, the total will be $2,340 per patient. What do you want to bet this is a plan to get us back down the path of single payer? Bet me. Bet me this is the next advertising campaign that they use for single payer. Bet me. I will say that right now. While there are currently no FDA-approved products to treat or prevent COVID-19, remdesivir is the first antiviral medication to show effectiveness against the novel coronavirus in human clinical trials in limiting hospitalization stays. Right next to hydroxychloroquine. The costs do not represent out-of-pocket costs with patient using private insurance. That amount would depend on the type of plan that they have. The watchdog group Public Citizen is calling Gilead's pricing of the drug an offensive display of hubris and disregard for the public because of what it estimates to be $70 million in estimated taxpayer money used to develop the drug through federal grants and clinical trials. Although Gilead set the terms during the pandemic, represents a colossus failure in the leadership by the Trump administration, said Peter May Barduk, director of Public Citizen's Access to Medicines program. The pricing for the highly sought-after drug was explained in an open letter from Daniel O'Day, the chairman and CEO of Gilead Sciences. He wrote, "There's no playbook for how to price a new medicine in a pandemic." O'Day said the company has decided to price remdesivir well below this value based on tests that showed remdesivir shortened recovery time by an average of 4 days. At the level we have priced remdesivir, with government programs in place along with additional Gilead assistance as needed, we believe all patients will have access. And our pockets are going to be very, very, very nicely lined. U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar announced Monday that President Trump secured 500,000 treatment courses of remdesivir for U.S. hospitals through September. This is a drug that, if you're hospitalized, can reduce the length of your stay by a third, Azar told ABC News chief anchor George Stephanopoulos in an interview on Good Morning America. The deal between the Trump administration and Gilead Sciences that allows U.S. hospitals to purchase remdesivir in amounts allocated by the Department of Health and Human Services, as well as state health departments. So, yeah, I bet you anything that this is going to be the next thing that they use to push for single payer. We have to get rid, we must, my God, get rid of private insurance. Because they're jacking up the prices of drugs. Because of evil Drumpflers forcing them to jack these prices up. Single payer, come November. That's what we're going to see. Right there. Guarantee it. Let's keep going here. From the Daily Wire, pandemic potential. New virus that can infect humans found in China, report says. From Ryan Saavedra. A new flu virus has been discovered in China that can reportedly infect humans and that experts are warning has pandemic potential as the world still grapples with the coronavirus pandemic, which also originated in China. Scientists say the new flu strain was recently discovered in pigs as they are concerned it could mutate further so it could spread easily from person to person and trigger a global outbreak, the BBC reported. They say that it has all the hallmarks of being highly adapted to infect humans and needs close monitoring. As it's new, people could have little or no immunity to the virus. The world is still battling the coronavirus, which originated late last year in Wuhan, China, and has devastated economies around the world, along with killing hundreds of thousands of people. Professor Qin Chao Cheng And his colleagues at Nottingham University say they are closely monitoring this new strain, which they are calling G4EA-H1N1, Fox News reported. The new strain, of which they found evidence among people who work in Chinese slaughterhouses, can grow and multiply in the cells lining human airways. Right now we're distracted with coronavirus, and rightly so, Qin Chao said, but we must not lose sight of potentially dangerous new viruses. The new virus is named G4, is genetically related to H1N1 virus strain that caused a pandemic in 2009, but didn't shut down the world because a Democrat was in office, and it wasn't an election year. From 2011 to 2018, researchers took 30,000 nasal swabs from pigs in slaughterhouses in 10 Chinese provinces and in a veterinary hospital, allowing them to isolate 179 swine flu viruses. The South China Morning Post reported the researchers then carried out various experiments, including on ferrets, which are widely used in flu studies because they experience similar symptoms to humans, principally fever, coughing, and sneezing. I always wanted a ferret. I always wanted a ferret for a pet. I always did. I think they're cute. I don't care what you guys think. I think they're cute, but I always wanted one. G4 was reportedly found to be highly infectious and caused more serious symptoms in the ferrets than the other viruses did. So, yeah, they're going to try and do this again. It's an election year. So strap yourselves in, kids, because we're just getting started with 5 months to go. Alright. Let's keep going here. From CNN, China passes sweeping Hong Kong national security law. From Helen Reagan. Beijing has passed a wide-reaching national security law for Hong Kong, which many fear could be used to override existing legal processes and further erode the city's civil and political freedoms. Beijing's top lawmaking body, the National People's Congress, passed the law unanimously on Tuesday morning local time, bypassing Hong Kong's legislature, the Chinese state-run Xinhua News agency reported. The passing of the legislation has been clouded in secrecy, and details of the law itself remain scant. According to Xinhua, the law contains 6 articles and 66 clauses. Oof. You see that? You see that right there? This Mark of the Beast shit? Yeah. That's going to raise some red flags with conspiracy theorists, and will go into effect immediately. Xinhua previously reported the law would criminalize offenses such as secession, subversion against the central Chinese government, terrorism, and colluding with foreign agencies. A draft had not been made public ahead of its passage, meaning the vast majority of people in Hong Kong have not seen details of the law that will now govern their lives. In a video addressed to the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva on Tuesday, Hong Kong's chief executive, Carrie Lam, said the law will have no retrospective effect, a major concern for many democracy activists in the city, especially for those facing charges relating to the protests last year. Additionally, Lam said that Hong Kong authorities would exercise jurisdiction over offenses under the law, except in rare specified situations, suggesting that some cases would be tried in mainland China. China's State Council Information Office said it would hold a press briefing in the national security law in Beijing on Wednesday morning. The legislation has been widely criticized by opposition lawmakers in Hong Kong, human rights groups, and politicians worldwide, with many saying it will cement Beijing's direct control over the semi-autonomous city. Many worry it would be used to target political dissidents, activists, human rights lawyers, and journalists amid the central government's continuing crackdown on civil society under Chinese President Xi Jinping. Activists have vowed to demonstrate against the law on July 1st, the anniversary of the territory's handover from British colonial rule to China in 1997. The day has become an annual day of protest in the city, but for the first time since the handover, police have not given permission to protesters to hold peaceful demonstrations. So, and this affects a lot of things too, especially given our trade status with Hong Kong, because they are no longer autonomous to the point, and we'll talk about this in just a bit here, they're no longer autonomous to the point where they're separate from China, therefore we can't give them preferential treatment against China, which is going to hurt a lot of trade and a lot of Hong Kong to begin with. So, hearts out to Hong Kong, F in the chat for Hong Kong and their autonomy, and we will see that as we go. Alright, from BBC News, Hong Kong security law angers China's Xi signs legislation. President Xi Jinping signed into law and is being placed in Hong Kong's mini constitution, criminalizing sedition and effectively curtailing protests. Hong Kong's leader, Carrie Lam, defended the law, saying it filed a gaping hole in national security. One key pro-democracy group said it was now ceasing all operations. Demosisto announced the move on Facebook after Joshua Wong, one of Hong Kong's most prominent activists, said he was leaving the group which he had spearheaded. Beijing is expected to clarify the law later on Tuesday. No draft was made public beforehand, and even Ms. Lam said she could not comment on its terms, while the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress discussed them. Hong Kong's government said in a statement that the law would come into effect later on Tuesday. Wednesday is the anniversary of the return to sovereignty to China, a day that usually draws large pro-democracy protests. China says the law is needed to tackle unrest and instability linked to a broadening pro-democracy movement. Or, you could just let them form their own country. They seem to be pretty eager to do that. Opponents say it undermines the autonomy set out in Hong Kong's mini-constitution, the Basic Law, which was agreed when the territory's sovereignty was returned by the UK in 1997. Civil liberties such as free speech, the right to protest, and independent and robust judiciary are at risk, they said. So, even the BBC is coming up on this, and, the BBC, or the UK rather, not even the UK, but Britain itself, was one of the leaders in the world for a long time of extending their nation far beyond their own borders. So, even they're coming out against this at this point, so this is going to make things interesting. I bet you there at least comes out to be some sort of civil unrest coming out of this, if not an outright civil war, but who knows what's going to happen. Alright, let's keep going here. Iran issues arrest warrant for Trump over drone strike that killed Kasim Soleimani. Hold on. Sorry. I had to give that the amount of reverence that it required. From Nada Al-Tahar, Sam Kelly, and Tara John over at CNN. Iran has issued an arrest warrant for U.S. President Donald Trump over the drone strike that killed a top Iranian general in January. That was just in January. Doesn't that seem like that was 50-some years ago? The semi-official Fars news agency reported on Monday. Trump is one of 36 people Iran has issued arrest warrants for in relation to the death of Qasim Soleimani, commander of the Islamic Revolution Guard Corps, according to Fars, but the Tehran Attorney General Ali Akasi Mayer said Trump was not at the top of the list. Mayer claimed Trump would be prosecuted as soon as he stands down presidency after his term ends, Fars reported. Yeah, okay. Iran also said it has asked Interpol to issue a red notice for these 36 individuals. Semi-official state news agency ISNA reported, though it was unlikely that Interpol would grant their request. In a statement to CNN, Interpol said it would not consider requests of this nature. It explained that it was not in accordance with its rules and constitution, which states that it is strictly forbidden for the organization to undertake any intervention or activities of a political, military, religious, or racial character. Political stunt, U.S. official. U.S. Special Representative for Iran Brian Hook called the move a political stunt during a joint press conference with the Saudi Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Adel al-Jubeir, on Monday. It's propaganda that we're used to, Hook said. This has nothing to do with national security, international peace, or promoting stability. So we see it for what it is. It's a propaganda stunt that no one takes seriously and makes Iranians look foolish. Fact check true. Soleimani was killed in a U.S. drone strike at Baghdad International Airport in January, along with 5 others, including Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis, the deputy head of the Iran-backed Iraqi Popular Mobilization Force. The strike, condemned by Iran and its allies, and assassination, raised the specter of further regional destabilization. And yet, it hasn't destabilized yet at this point. Funny how that works. But, yeah, I love that. Yeah, we want to arrest the president. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. I mean, half of our country right now would praise you for doing so, but that is, by all rights, an act of war. trying to capture the figurehead. Yeah, let me see how that goes. Looks like I'm going to have to go out and clean up plants here after the show because I see a lot of birds getting out there getting brave again, and I don't have the scarecrow out because it rained all day yesterday, and the scarecrow is plush. All right, just a couple more here, including a video that's playing. From Fox News, Sean Hannity asks if Biden has strength, stamina, and mental alertness to perform hardest job in the world. What's going to happen when he finally has to leave his basement bunker for good? From Yale Halon. Sean Hannity began Monday's program by urging Americans to ask themselves, what has Joe Biden done to improve the lives of all Americans? Did Biden pass criminal justice reform? No. Did he pass police reform? No. After Baltimore, after Ferguson, what did they do? Nothing. Who changed it? President Trump changed it, the host said. Hannity contrasted Biden's record with President Trump's, highlighting the current administration's commitment to criminal justice reform and efforts to increase funding to historically black colleges and communities. Did Barack and Joe create opportunity zones in the struggling neighborhoods? Hannity asked. No, that would be President Trump. President Trump has been in office less than 4 years, and during this time, pre-coronavirus, there was record low unemployment for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, and youth unemployment. And African American youth unemployment. That is great for a collective American family. Recently, Hannity went on, the president took important steps to restore order in American cities, including those tough measures against vandals, those who have been attempting to tear down any and every statue across the country. By the way, where does Joe stand on these issues? Addressing his viewers directly, Hannity urged voters to ask themselves whether Biden is really fit to serve as commander-in-chief. Does Joe Biden have the mental alertness? Does he have the stamina? Does he have the strength to take on the hardest job in the world? The host asked. And what is going to happen when he finally has to leave his basement bunker for good? Will the mob and the media ask questions, ask Biden the same questions they asked Ronald Reagan about age and mental acuity? He concluded. Don't hold your breath. Don't expect Biden to leave the basement. Yeah, no. And I got to go with Hannity on this, but for the fact that when I looked at this article, when I actually looked at it on the Fox News front page, they said Sean Hannity finally asked the hard questions about Joe Biden. Bitch, those of us in the alternative media have been asking these questions for a year at this point, a year and a half at this point. So don't say that you're the first one to ask the question, because we've been asking it for a very, very long time. You're the first mainstream asshole to ask the question, but no, that's been on the forefront of our mind for a very long time. All right, I got another one here from the Wall Street Journal. A Supreme Court strikes down Louisiana abortion law by a 5-4 vote. The court rules there's no medical benefit for requiring doctors to obtain admitting privileges at the hospital before performing abortions. From Jess Braven. The Supreme Court struck down a Louisiana law restricting abortions, ruling by a 5-4 vote that it was identical to a Texas law requiring providers to obtain hospital admitting privileges that the justices invalidated in 2016. In an opinion by Justice Stephen Breyer, 4 liberal justices reaffirmed their 2016 decision that such measures would have no medical benefits and thus interfere with a woman's constitutional right to end a pregnancy. The 5th vote, however, came from Chief Justice Roberts, of course it did, who wrote separately on a narrower grounds that the precedent required the same result. The Chief Justice had dissented from the 2016 decision, where the 5th vote in the majority came from now retired Justice Anthony Kennedy. I joined the dissent in Whole Woman's Health and continued to believe that the case was wrongly decided, Chief Justice wrote. The question today, however, is not whether the Whole Woman's Health was right or wrong, but whether we adhere to it in deciding the present case. 4 other conservative justices dissented, including Justice Kennedy's successor, Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Oh no, he's going to end abortion for everybody. Oh, everybody run. The measure was styled as protecting the health of women seeking abortions. If implemented, the law likely would force 2 of the state's 3 abortion clinics to close, putting the procedure out of reach for some patients. And this is where the Supreme Court gets it wrong. And like I said last night when the question was posed to us from Unsatiable over on Ed's World, I am not pro-choice. I am pro-life on principle. But my God, do I not want to get the government involved, because the government fucks everything up. Man, do they fuck everything up. So I don't want them involved in any of this, because they just screw everything up, as we see on this point. This should never be a federal case. I never understood why this became a federal thing. Well, I do understand, because it was Roe versus Wade, the law that was enshrined into the religion of the left. But yeah, this is a state level decision. And yes, states should have the autonomy to decide for themselves what they think is right and what they think isn't. And the fact that both Texas and Louisiana had to have federal mandate come to them is just wrong. This is not what our country was designed to do. And I know I'm a federalist and this holds a special place in my heart, but still, this was not what our federal government was designed to do. Our federal government was designed to protect interstate commerce and regulate it and give ourselves a defense standing on the rest of the world. Not decide who can kill a baby and who can't. I can't believe we're having this discussion still, but apparently we are. Alright, last one here before we do Twitter trending for Tuesday. J.K. Rowling fires back at critics who call her transphobic, shames detractors for failing to protect women's rights. From Emily Zanotti. Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling torched critics of her trans-exclusionary radical feminism, which means that the left is going to start torching her books, on social media over the weekend, after a member of the United Kingdom's Labour Party issued a tepid apology for accusing Rowling of weaponizing her history of sexual assault and domestic violence. Labour MP Lloyd Russell Moyle apologized to Rowling on Twitter Sunday, without tagging her directly, after claiming in a lengthy op-ed for a British newspaper that Rowling was using her history of sexual assault, a history she revealed in detail in a heavily personal essay published last week, as a justification for discriminating against transgender individuals. In the piece, Rowling said she's a domestic abuse and sexual assault survivor, and that she stands up for women's rights even in the face of pushback from transgender activists, because she believes women-only spaces and women's safety are under direct attack from efforts to erase the concept of gender. Rowling said she cares about the issue out of solidarity with the huge number of women who have histories like mine who have been slurred as bigots for having concerns about single-sex spaces. She also claims that she struggled with her own femininity as a result of abuse that she may have tried to transition out of guilt. Had she been born several decades later, the allure of escaping womanhood would have been huge. I struggled with severe OCD as a teenager. If I'd found community and sympathy online that I couldn't find in my immediate environment, I believe I would have been persuaded to turn myself into the son my father had openly said he'd have preferred. She then torched the critics of her transphobia, calling them victims of groupthink who put women at risk. Fact check true. When you throw open the doors of bathrooms and changing rooms to any man who believes that he's a woman, as I've said, gender confirmation certificates may now be granted without any need for surgery or hormones, then you open the door for any and all men who wish to come inside. That is a simple truth, Rowling added. After being attacked by Russell Moyle for the essay, Rowling took to Twitter to again torch her critics, openly accusing them, or those who called her transphobic, of imperiling the achievements of feminism and minimizing the needs of women. She even compared the so-called men's rights activists who openly deny gender equality. When so-called leftists like Lloyd R.M. demand that we give up our hard-won sex-based rights, they align themselves squarely with men's rights activists. To both groups, female trauma is white noise, is irrelevance, and is also exaggerated or invented, Rowling tweeted. She even called Russell Moyle sexist. Andrea Dworkin wrote, "Men often react to women's words, speaking and writing, as if they were acts of violence. Sometimes men react to women's words with violence. It isn't hateful for women to speak about their own experiences, nor do they deserve shaming for doing so." So, my question here, of course, is now if J.K. Rowling is canceled and her books are going to be torched for the rest of time, does this mean, I can't even think of the guy's name, The guy from Harry Potter that they compare Trump to. The one who can't be named. God, what is his name? It's on the tip of my tongue. And I've only read the first book, but I can't think of the name. But yeah, they always compare to it. The guy with no nose. Oh, it's going to come to me as soon as I turn the camera off. But yeah, this is going to further and further and further the divide here. And this really does get me to a point where I start to wonder. And I know this is England, so this is completely different. But I wonder if around here we're going to see things like, I don't know, our party system change and the Libertarian Party taking over the, quote, right wing, even though they're more socially liberal on many things, as a libertarian small government party, and then the remnants of the conservative movement combining with the remnants of the Democrat Party and forming the authoritarian party. Because I do think that, given some of the splits that we see, there is an opportunity for a change in the paradigm. So that's going to be something that we're going to see. But that's all that I have for news for the day. Oh, Seawall got it. Voldemort. I don't know. I kept thinking Dumbledore, but I thought he was a good guy. Alright. So the last thing that we do on Tuesday is we read what's trending over on Twitter. So let's go over here and see here. We'll read the 5 top trends for Tuesday. I bet you, just from everything else that we've seen for the last few weeks, that 4 of the top 5 say Tuesday something in them. Yep, there we go. Well, we're going to skip the Tuesday motivation, Tuesday vibes, Tuesday thoughts, and crap like that. But let's see what we have going on here. First, Carl Reiner. So let's see what's going on here. Carl Reiner is dead at 98. I guess I'm not sure who Carl Reiner is. I knew who Rob Reiner is, but I didn't realize Carl Reiner was famous. No, looks like he was a Mel Brooks guy. Oh, I was unfamiliar. I apologize for that. But rest in peace. Trend number 2, or trend number 6, depending on how you look at it. Social Media Day. Irony is that Pakistan is an Islamic republic and India is a secular nation. No namaz on Pakistan during office hours. Chinese companies prohibit Muslim employees from offering prayers. I don't know what that has to do with Social Media Day, but yes, apparently today is Social Media Day. Don't use social media to impress people. Use it to impact people. Happy Social Media Day, and thank you all once again. What a worthless holiday. Alright, let's do 3 more here. K-pop is trending with Jipe. I don't know what any of that means because I don't know what K-pop means except that they make idiotic hashtags trend for no reason. Don't tell me that Chaeyoung not being able to show her tattoos isn't a Jipe problem either. When Jipe Nation stands finally realize how terrible Jipe really is, I wish to live to see that day. Justice for Jay. What the fuck is Jipe? See, well, you're into that Asian stuff. What the hell is Jipe? Apparently it's some sort of Japanese band, because we've got Jipe Nation in Japan, or it's Korean, one of the two. Alright, well, Jipe is trending. And the mystery will remain to me. Alright, a couple more here. Ian Desmond. Colorado Rockies outfielder Ian Desmond shared a powerful message with the reasons behind him opting out of playing baseball this season. Bye-bye. Rockies Ian Desmond announcing he's opting out of the MLB season, citing the COVID-19 pandemic and the need to be with family. Well, you'll be missed. You can look behind me and see how much I care about the Colorado Rockies. So, looks like Ian Desmond is going to sit out this season, which, once again, we don't know if we're even going to have a season. Because they were promising it back to us this month, and we still haven't seen a game. Which is lame. I would love to see the Red Sox right now, and I think that would bring peace to the world. There's always a peaceful, calming, and pastoral feeling in the stands. I mean, things get heated every once in a while, especially at a Red Sox-Yankees game, but for the most part, everybody leaves as friends. So, unless you're a Yankees fan. Alright, we'll do one more here. Trending, The Jerk, which I have not seen, by the way. This goes along with Carl Reiner. Directed some of my favorite comedy films of all time. The Jerk, Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, The Man with Two Brains, Goodbye Sir. And yes, this is going back along with Carl Reiner and the fact that he directed The Jerk, which I've not seen. I've seen clips out of. Actually, this clip here we actually watched at work on Saturday because it was a little bit slow. I watched the whole thing and it was funny. I'm actually curious to sit down and watch The Jerk now just from seeing this clip, but I have not carved out the time because I've got a lot of stuff going on. So that is on my list of things to watch at this point, though. So that's going to be it for Twitter trending, and that's going to be all that I have for the day. So we'll be back here later on tonight, and we're going to play some more video games. We're going to sketch out some more New Vegas. Let's see if we can get a couple more quest lines done. We'll see if we can get 2 more done tonight. We'll pick some short ones, of course, but yeah, let's see if we can get a little bit more done here. I want to finish this because I do want to move on to some other games because we've been playing this for a long time. And I hope to see you in there. I hope to see you in the live chat coming in and hassling me. Of course, we'll read the live chat as we go on. So that's going to be it for the day. And until later on tonight or tomorrow, if that's what you prefer, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary.